What up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Ask Paul. My name is Paul Abernathy, your host, as always, for the podcast, and welcome to the podcast. I know there's a lot of podcasts you can listen to out there, but you choose to listen to ours here at Electrical Code Academy, as well as the Let's Ask Paul segments. So thank you for joining me and sharing it with everybody. Again, if you have questions out there that you want me to answer on the National Electrical Code and you were afraid to ask, or you couldn't rely on your sources of information and you want a reliable source, do me a favor. Go over to paulabernathy.com, and there we have a simple online system that you can ask your questions, and guess what? It could appear on the next podcast, or I will respond via email, and one thing's for sure, we will answer your question. Now, if you're studying for the National Electrical Code, you want to learn it at a much higher level. You want to get a better understanding of the NEC and all the nuances, like the question I'm going to go over today would have answered that question in our Fast Tracks program. So if you're studying for an electrical exam, or you just want to get a better, more rounded understanding of the NEC, then do me a favor. Go to fasttrackssystem.com. That's fasttrackssystem.com, and you can find out more about our Fast Tracks exam preparation and NEC learning program. We call that the Black program. Now, if you're already licensed and you just want to expand your knowledge in more specific, dialed down, more intense understanding of residential, commercial, industrial, grounding and bonding, we have Fast Tracks systems on that as well. But what you're going to do is you're going to jump on over to electricalcodeacademy.net. Again, it sounds just like I said it, Electrical Code Academy, all one word, .net. And you're going to have all the information there right on the screen. So you can look at the red program for residential, the green program for commercial, the blue program for industrial, purple program for grounding and bonding, the yellow program for electricity 101, if that's what you're interested in. Of course, you can get the black program there as well. So if you really want to have a true system, and I've spent years putting this together, then you want to go to our trademarked Fast Tracks programs. Again, so check those out. Very easy to get to. Just go to the website and you can get information on any of them. And usually we have a demo, and we also have, when you go into the website, you'll see what it says, online courses. We have some demos in there as well to kind of let you see what exactly you're going to get in your residential or your commercial program or the Fast Tracks Black program. So go over to electricalcodeacademy.net, and guess what? Right there at the top, you'll see about the online courses. Check them out and you'll see the demos in there. Plus there's some practice exams and stuff in there too. You can test your skills. So check that out on our website. All right. So today's question comes to me. I'm going to read it and I'm going to answer it. It's a good question here. So it says, due to the 2020 code language change in 210.8, removing the words, quote, passing through a door or doorway, end of quote, that requires that GFCI protection be provided for cabinets and rooms with receptacles that measure 6 feet or less from the sink. Have I interpreted that correctly? Because I am only a second-year apprentice. I educate myself as best as possible and attend IEC schooling. I bring things up to my foreman, such as this code change, and he usually brushes it off. Our commercial building has dorm rooms that classify this as a dwelling as defined in Article 100, and our building is being built under the 2020 code. What would you suggest I do, because it is exhausting to always be dismissed because I'm the new guy, even though I bring up valid points? Thanks in advance, Paul. I really appreciate your podcast. Okay, great question. All right, so a couple things we're going to assume up front here is that you have defined that what you're dealing with is a dwelling unit. Although I will tell you, when it comes to the requirements for GFCI protection in 210.8, whether you're in A for dwelling units or you're in B for other than dwellings, it's still going to apply here based on the premise of what you're talking about when it comes to 6 feet from the sink. Okay, so that's still going to be in play. Okay, so when we think about the measurement, let's nail this down first. When we're doing this, for the purpose of this section, of course, we're talking about .8, which is a section dealing with the GFCI protection for the receptacles. It says, for the purpose of this section, when determining the distance from receptacles, the distance shall be measured as the shortest path the supply cord of an appliance connected to the receptacle would follow without piercing a floor, wall, ceiling, or fixed barrier, or the shortest path without passing through a window. So in the 2017 code, it did have references in there to doors and doorways being a break in the actual measurement. Well, you are absolutely 100% correct. In the 2020 edition, the door and doorways has been removed. So let me give you an example. So whether or not you're dealing with a dwelling unit in 210.8a, then you would be dealing with item number 7, where it says sinks, where receptacles are installed within 6 feet from the top inside edge of the bowl of a sink. Okay, so if it was a dwelling unit, this would still apply. But in the argument's sake that somebody says, well, Paul, this is maybe not a dwelling unit, or maybe this is a dormer. Okay, well, it's most certainly would go into B, 210.8b, which is other than a dwelling, but you're still covered. Because when you go look at item number 5, it says sinks, where receptacles are installed within 6 feet from the top inside edge of the bowl of the sink. Okay, so either way, we're going to answer this question today. So let's say, and we're going to treat it as a dwelling unit just to be able to bring context to your question. So you're absolutely correct. So if I have a kitchen sink, let's do a bathroom. If I have a bathroom sink and I have a doorway right by my sink, okay, and incidentally, my bathroom in my house is set that way. And once you walk out of that bathroom, you're going right into a bedroom. And right there by the actual door opening, about 1.5 feet away, is a receptacle. Now, as the crow flies, you saw how we did the measurement. It's the same path in a straight line, not following the contours, in a straight line from the bowl over to the receptacle. If that is 6 feet or less, then guess what? That receptacle, even though it's not in the bathroom itself, it would require to have GFCI protection because it is within 6 feet of what? 6 feet of the actual sink. So, and in that measurement, again, that measurement is going to be from the top inside edge of that bowl. Okay? So, absolutely, that would be. Now, it doesn't seem like you would do that, and I understand your foreman's thinking, dude, this is a bedroom, that's a bathroom, this receptacle's in the bedroom, it does not have to be GFCI. But the way the code reads, if you measure it, and now that the language about the doorway or door has been removed, again, that also removes, again, the limitation where you would put a receptacle under the sink and it used to have the cabinet door and that would break the measurement. You're absolutely correct. That is also no longer in play anymore because they removed the door. In this case, it's a cabinet door. In your case, you're talking about an actual doorway. Since that has all been removed, you are 100% correct. Now, how do you deal with your foreman being the new person on the site? Well, you know what? One of the things that's the quickest way to make sure that people understand what you're saying is very important is to provide them with the code reference and to be able to explain, not just to say it, but the proper code references, okay? So that you know that it's in 210.8 and you're dealing with A7 or 210.8B5. Now, the reason you give them both is because he can't argue one away from the other, trying to say it's not a dwelling unit when it is. But you see what I'm saying? I'm providing both means to that. Now, one other thing is that obviously electrical inspectors are not turning it down. And that is a shame because it would obviously is a violation if you're under the 2020 edition of the National Electrical Code. But they sometimes need to be educated too. Now, if you go out and educate them behind your foreman's back in order to call something out, then yeah, you probably would get in trouble with that. And you're the new person or the younger person on the site as far as, experience. Probably wouldn't set well with them. But it is what it is. And sometimes at the end of the day, I know it drives you crazy, but you just got to make them aware of it. Provide them with a good, clear explanation of why it's in the code this way and put it on a piece of paper and give it to them. Print it out, put some effort into it. And if they choose to discount it and say, I ain't doing that, then just do what they say as long as you know the difference. Because remember, ultimately at the end of the day, you're not the one that's going to be liable. Okay. You're just doing the work. Okay. You know what's different. They're giving you direction that tells you not to do this. Right. So again, you're 2 years into your program. You're still in the learning phase. They're foreman or they're the one that's in charge. They're choosing to ignore it. That's fine. If it's not failing an inspection, at least you know the difference. And as you grow and as you become a better, installer, you'll get to the point where you'll be the one making these decisions. And this serves as a good lesson that when you get to the point where you're making those decisions, then you can make sure that it's done right. And hopefully you pass that message on down to others that are under you, unlike what this foreman is doing. Okay. Now I get it with the number of units that adds to the cost. And we obviously know that what that means is that we would have to put a GFCI receptacle probably in that receptacle outlet box, because you certainly can't serve those receptacles, in my example, in the bedroom from the bathroom circuit that's been installed under 210.11c to serve those bathroom receptacles. You obviously can't do that. So it's going to require them. And of course, they're looking at dorms. They're looking at, whatever it is, $15 times how many ever they need. That's what they're probably looking at. And they're like, we're not going to do that. That wasn't figured into the pricing. It's still code is what it is. But at this point, you probably just have to bite your tongue and make sure you convey your message. Go into your code or go into it and make sure that you write it out so it makes it clear what 210.8 A7 says. And then also give them as a supplemental information 210.8 B5 and explain the situation to them. And if they choose to ignore it at that point, you've done your due diligence and you just go on and you do what they say and again, wait for an inspector to eventually fail it. And then you can say, I told you so. But that's about all you can do. I would not pull your hair out of your head for it. You know the difference. They won't listen to you. Just keep moving forward. You've still got only 2 years in. So at some point, you're going to be one that makes those critical decisions and you can make the right move. But that would be my advice right now. It's probably not going to behoove you to cause too much of a stink. But I would make it clear to multiple people. Or when you say something, make sure there's people around that you give this piece of paper to them and then you've made them aware of it. And then kind of laugh it off and say, I'm just learning. I'm learning and I just wanted to help. I just wanted to share. So that you're kind of saying, hey, this is what I'm saying, but then play it off and say, I'm just saying I wanted you to see this because I just put some effort into this. And if they discount it at that point, hey, when the crap hits the fan, you have made a statement. They can't blame it on you. They can't say, oh, that's the apprentice did it. Oh, that's the second year guy. He didn't know what he was doing. It's his fault. Nope. You can go, dude, I gave you the paper. You saw it. It ain't me. Okay. It's about the best you can do. So hopefully that answered your question. Thank you for submitting that question. And hopefully I've answered it adequately for you. All right. So we're going to go on to another question since that one was pretty quick. Let's see what else we got here for today's Ask Paul. All right. It says, okay, what does this one say? It says, okay, Paul, I just passed my license exam in Ohio and I work for my dad with intention of taking over the company in roughly 8 to 10 years. Okay, that's a good plan, good business plan. 8 to 10 years give you quite a bit of experience under your belt to take over the company. Plus you get to learn from your dad in that process. That's awesome. It says, we are a small 5-man company, including myself and my dad. Okay, so 2 of you and either 3 electricians or 3 helpers, whatnot. Okay, I get it. It says, I would like to expand the company, and I see it grow slowly and steadily. We do a lot of light commercial, new construction, some industrial work, and whenever it calls for, some residential service work and lighting. What is some advice you could offer or suggestions to see us potentially expand to 15 to 20 guys? What is the realm of work should we try getting into? I'm only 28 and I'm very ambitious and I want to see our company take huge strides and get into anything we can. Okay. You know what? First thing I'll say is kudos out there because again, there's a lot of people they settle for the status quo, right? We need all different types. So some people that have just a mom and pop, small couple folks. Maybe it's you and a helper, you and your dad and a helper. And then other people say, look, I have ambitions and want to grow. That was kind of the mentality that me and my brother had when we were back in business many years ago. My brother was very content on staying just me and him, or very small, and I was not. So when I decided to part ways with my brother, I started embarking on an effort to grow my company and that type of thing. So everybody has their different paths and how they want to grow. In your situation, for me, we did light commercial as well. We did not do, heavy commercial in projects that we'd have to stay on for months at a time. I wasn't into that. It bogs you down. Not to say that's not a path you go, but that's usually requires more capital and things like that in infrastructure. And that's a harder path to grow, but you can grow it. You say you're doing some residential. Again, I don't know your market, so this is gonna be tough for me. But if I'm telling a company how to get more well-rounded, one of my advices that I always give, and I gave it to Grundberg as well, and as I do with most people, y'all know Grundberg, the basement king, is that I used to say, and I did this to a friend of mine back in Virginia, Jason Haney, who really has grown his company leaps and bounds. Went from, probably 4 or 5 guys to now, 20 or 30, and he's really growing. And one of my words of advice to him was, way back years ago, was don't put all your eggs in one basket. And what that meant is diversify yourself into different revenue streams that you can specialize in. Yeah, anybody can wire a house, okay? I mean, let's be honest. Anybody can do light residential. Anybody that has the infrastructure can build their business out to do these things. But it's the consistency of what you add to your revenue stream that's important. So my advice to him was to get into generators because it was going to be a very popular thing. He ended up doing that, getting a Generac dealership, and it's doing amazingly well. And again, Generac used to kind of keep it to where you had only a certain number of dealers, but it seems like today they'll let anybody be a dealer, even in the same area, because again, they're about volume. I get it. But getting into generators, if you don't want to get into a generator dealership, then one thing that is lacking is offering that affordable generator service where you do the things like the plug-in generators and do that and set it up and manual transfer and show people how to switch their loads when they're doing a transfer and, all those type of things. Maybe even, manual, not automatic, even though there's obviously the market for the automatics with the Generacs and Kohlers and things like that. But if you can't get into that type of thing, there's still a market and niche for what I say shoestring budget style generator setups that you can start, dipping your toe into. And that really could be a service person that does that. So when I say get into generators or expanding, not putting all your eggs in one basket, what I'm saying is, what other services can you add to your business that can specialize or differentiate you from everybody else, but also create additional revenue streams? And you control that revenue stream, whether you want to cut it off or you want to expand it. So generators is one. If you don't get a full-fledged dealership from like a Generac or something like that, then you don't have to show loyalty to any generator manufacturer when you're doing the things like a shoestring budget type of generator upgrades. And there's a lot of people out there that would love to have a generator, but don't want to fork out $15,000 or $14,000, $13,000, $10,000 for it. And they don't need something to be automatic. Now, I know some people love that peace of mind that, boom, it just switches automatically. I get it. There's still affordable options for automatic transfer without the systems, and you don't have to go whole house transfer. I used to do it when I did the portable generator type of programs that I do for people. I could get in and out of them for under $5,000, probably less than that. Because you know what? There's a great generators out on the market that are very efficiency. They work great with electronics. And that is the Foreman. And it's usually a tri-fuel system, whether it's LP, propane, or natural gas, propane, or regular gas. You can get them at Costco. They're like 7,500 watts, but then they're like 95 peak, and then run is 75. Perfectly fine to handle the essential loads in a dwelling. Doesn't take much to put an inlet at a certain location outside. It doesn't take much to get one of those interlock kits that you put on the cover. doesn't take much to do that and can offer it affordable. So theoretically, if you think about pricing that out, you could probably get everything you need to turnkey somebody at your cost at right around $1,000. But yet you sell it to them for $3,500 and you make a quick, easy $2,000 or more, depending on your area. But let $5,000 be the threshold, because that's about where people start to kind of moan and groan when it comes to generator applications. They know they want it, but they can't afford a whole house. But what I used to do is, out part of the package, I would take them in and I'd show them how to do everything. And then in the panel, I used to, I would do this during my setup. I would click amp probes on things and find out what the loads were. And then what I would do is I would get those little sticky dots, the green or red dots, and I would put those on each of the breakers that were okay to be on when in generator mode. So I'd put a green dot on those and a red dot on the ones that can't be on when in generator. So I would show them the procedure, pretty simple procedure, right? You cut off the main, move the interlock, cut on the back fed breaker that's being fed from the generator, and then cut all of the actual smaller breakers off. Then I would turn the generator on. Once it's running, then I would say you could systematically turn on the ones with the green dots. It really didn't take any time, but it really did give a cost-effective option for them. So you can start out that way and add that service, and believe it or not, that'll add up pretty quickly, depending on where you're at and the need for generator power and things like that. Plus, they have a generator they can use for other applications, so it works out to be a win-win. And if you get it to where you're using a certain generator, then you might be able to get a better deal on a generator and you make a little money on that. Okay, it's up to you. The ones I like are at Costco, so they're the ones I have actually used before. Okay, that's that's a revenue stream. Again, if you can get a full-fledged generator dealership, that's one way to do it. But next thing I would tell you, and some people take this for granted, and Jay teases me about this all the time, is I say that if you have a service guy that can do that generator stuff, also do service calls. So you sound like you do a little bit of service work, but I can tell you, the one place that I believe that companies that do the new construction and things like that really ought to divest time into it is service work. There is a lot of money in service work, but an electrician that is super uber skilled in service diagnostic and doing things like adding circuits and can make a heck of a good living on it. And again, a lot of the stuff you can have on the truck, the general stuff that you need for service work is just like it was 20 years ago. It's still an up and coming and booming. And I would target neighborhoods with homes that are at least 10 years old. And I'd have flyers and door hangers, and I'd have them made by Vistaprint, very cheap. And I would saturate that market with them. And you'd be surprised the business you get, but you need to grow that service work business. Now, the same guy that's doing the generator can do the service work. So you're not having to add a bunch of people when you're starting that expansion out. Again, if you grow, you add more people. But what I'm doing is I'm putting my eggs in other baskets in order to increase my potential revenue stream with the smallest amount of expenditure in order to kind of move that needle, right? So you've got your cost-effective generator division, or you could go with a full-fledged generator division if you get something from like a Generac or whatever, they have something in your area, or Kohler or whatever you feel comfortable with. I like the poor man's version because, again, it's just, you can get a lot more sales potential for that. It's easier to put in those inlets, just slapping easy to do. And it doesn't always have to be outside. You can put it inside the garage, but, let them know that the generator has to go outside. But now they come with the 50-foot generator cords, and you're not going to have a problem. You can get it outside. So there's just so many options to do that. The service work, again, I think that's just... people need things fixed, and they don't feel comfortable working with electricity. Now with the Alexa devices, the Wi-Fi devices, the interactive Wi-Fis, the network systems, you can add that to part of your service, and you will see that you can start expanding that part of your business as well in the service sector. So I would establish a servicing sector like that is one of the things that I would get into. Okay. Now, the next one is probably going to sound like to people like, dude, really, this has been around for years. You really are saying that now? And yeah, what it is landscape lighting. And like I said, Jay laughs at me when I says that. But as more and more homes in certain areas, the need for landscape lighting, and I'm not talking the cheap Lowe's landscape lighting, right? I'm talking the moderately priced dealer versions, like from AMP. Okay, so this company called AMP, you can get a dealership, costs you nothing. They have really, really great options for the lighting. You become one of their preferred dealers, and you can market and say you're an AMP dealer, and you buy direct from them. They have a wide variety of lights and down lights, up lights, just stair lights. It's endless, right? Pathway lighting, pool lighting. So that is another area that you start to market as a specialist in landscape illumination and house illumination or lighting enhancement. And you focus on that. Again, a service person could do that. That doesn't take a lot of brain power to do it. It's pretty easy to do. But again, there's quite a bit of money that's involved in something like that if you can build it out. Right. But again, it's nothing that you have to jump into and hire somebody right away. You can start marketing these things. And if you get a good service person, and you might already have that person, even though you've had 5 people, you might already have that person that you can kind of tailor them into that. And you can start growing. And as these different sectors start to grow or gain traction, then you can start expanding. And that's going to be the easiest way to start adding people. And of course, in your company, you're going to be cross-platformed, means that usually somebody doing this can help you do this or help you do that. So we're not saying abandon your drive for the new construction. We're not saying abandon your drive for the light commercial. We're not saying lower your expectation for industrial. We're just saying, look, you have to start looking for creative avenues. The other's going to grow, right? If you do really good work in your light commercial, you're going to get more work, okay? Bid on more jobs, things like that. If you want to get more into residential, then do yourself a favor. You have to get out there and drive neighborhoods, new neighborhoods under construction. Try to get to know builders. Make appointments with builders. They might already have a contractor they use, and that's okay. But what you want to do is try to get a lunch with them. Try to get a cup of coffee with them. Reach out to them. Identify your builders in the area. All you got to do is go to the major subdivisions that are new and under construction, and you'll see general contractor signs and things like that. Do your due diligence. Try to find out who it is. Take them out to have a cup of coffee. Give them your business card and say, look, I understand you might have somebody already doing your work. I get it. I'm not here to take that away. I'm not here to take anybody else. But here's my card. If and when you get the opportunity or you need somebody to help you out, please think of me. That's it. I can't think of any better networking than that for the cost of what? A cup of coffee? So you got to be, the one thing I will give you advice on this is that you cannot be an introvert. Okay? You're going to have to be very social and get out there, be very aggressive in how you approach, but be subtle in it and be very humble and just be like, hey, I'm here if you need me. Eventually they'll need you. And once that door cracks open, then you can go in. Now, the other one that I'll talk about is something like what the Basement King does, and is specialized in certain aspects. You'd be surprised if you were to take your business, again, doesn't take a lot to do this, is to start marketing a little bit. Again, flyers, door hangers, in subdivisions that maybe you're in an area that has basements, and there's a lot of unfinished basements. So, for example, up in Colorado, Jay has made a niche for himself. His niche is basements. And I could not believe the sheer number of basements. So there's some contractors, that's all they do, right? And so finding those and identifying those, creating some kind of niche within your area, then that is something that you can target, and you can be the go-to person when it comes to things like basement finish outs with electrical, maybe attic finish outs, things like that. That is one area where you're still doing your contracting, but you're specializing in something. You become the person. Like I coined the phrase for Jay, the Basement King. We were sitting one day and talking to him, and he does basements. I said, you know what? You're the Basement King. And that's where we started with that. And, he specializes in basements. He'll do other work. He'll do service work, service changes, things like that. But that's what he does. He's the basement king, right? And so you can search for those type of niche things that you can do that you can add to your business. And as it grows, you'll add staff on that way. Because the new construction stuff, the light commercial, that's going to feed itself. If you do a good job and you start doing more and you get more work, you're gonna naturally have to add people. But that kind of throws, again, all your eggs in one basket. I like a diverse source of income. So think about those other options, things that might appeal to you, and that's where you need to focus. And you don't have to spend a massive amount of brain power on this. Just think of areas that you can market in your area that might be something that is lacking, and you can fill that void, and it won't take long. One last one I'll add is, and people underestimate this, is trying to make contact with all of your real estate agents in the area, maybe going to a meeting or a meeting they might have or something, and do what I call heavy ups. No, not heavy ups, because that's a panel. Quick ups or refresh or fresh up, I used to call it. And that is where you make a deal with them and you'll go in and you'll change all the switches out to rockers. You'll change all the receptacles out. If they're the regular duplex to square duplex, decoras, hang new luminaires, hang new ceiling fans, make it a smart house with Alexas and all these other types of devices. Those type of things are help bring the value up, right? The value up in a home, and it sells quicker. And so it's a quick way to turn a couple grand if you're willing to do a fresh up program. But you have to be aggressive. This stuff's not going to just fall in your lap. I tell people this all the time. If you want it, you got to go after it. And then you have to show people why this will benefit them. And if you show them the why, then you'll increase the want. And the want is what you have to provide. So again, it goes hand in hand. So those are the best tips I can give you. Stay at it. I love your aggressiveness. I love the fact that you are thinking long term and how you want to build this thing up. Just remember, diversify. Don't keep all your eggs in one basket. Find out where you can create your own niche, and then think of those other things that I told you, and hopefully that'll be able to help you out. All right. Well, that's it, guys and gals. That's all I'm going to do for today. Remember, if you have questions on anything, like today, we had one on code and we have one that's asking about business development. I can only give you the best insight I can. So if you enjoyed it, do me a favor, subscribe, but also share it with your friends on other platforms. Let people know about it. If you have any questions, just go over to paulabernathy.com and submit your question. I'll be more than happy to answer it for you. Until next time, stay safe. God bless.